Let's see here. Getting ready for you guys. Should be interesting. Let's see. All right. Looks like it's actually working really nice this time. Wow. It's the fastest I've seen this thing. Might be a little frozen. Here we go. All right. Good night, everybody. Well, actually, not good night. Good evening. My name is Kyle Paul, and welcome to The Full Scope. Thank you all for joining me tonight on Monday again. I wasn't here Friday because there was honestly nothing really new going on in the news. Honestly, I was struggling all day to even try to find anything to talk about, and I was pretty tired, so I decided to take a day off of that on this past Friday. But I also really wanted to see how this peace summit would turn out in Pakistan between the United States and Iran. And we'll be talking a little bit about that. Not going to go too crazy with it. I'm mainly going to be talking about the shooting that happened. What was it on? I think that was also on Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember now. I think it was maybe Sunday. Maybe it was Saturday. Huh. Anyways, one of the days over the weekend, there was a guy who apparently opened fire in the White House. I'm sure everybody's heard about this on the news already. It seems to be a big thing that's going on. And we're going to kind of dive into that. I'm going to share some of my thoughts on it, some things that I've been thinking about having to do with all of that situation and why it possibly happened. It's going to be kind of speculation in a sense. You know, it's not necessarily anything that's a hard fact, but I'm going to kind of give you guys my gut feeling on exactly what is going on with all of that. Anyways, before I get any further, please like this video, follow my channel for more content. Ugh, I can't talk today. Leave me a comment in the comment section. And I'd like to hear from you guys, and please tell me what's on your mind. And, share my content, share my videos, my clips and stuff. They've been kind of going out pretty good. I get a lot of interactions with people through a lot of my social media stuff. So I appreciate all of you guys who are out there helping me out, liking my stuff and sharing it, trying to spread the message. So I am still working on these hard seltzers, dude. I can't seem to get rid of them. I'm almost done with this box. It's taking me forever. Honestly, I don't drink that much, but having one is all right once in a while. I've been on a whole bulking thing this past month, and starting the beginning of May, like the end of this week, I'm going to start back down on another cut. I'm going to go for 90 days. It should be pretty interesting. I mean, even right now, I can kind of see that I've maybe gained a few pounds here. It's crazy what 1 month can do of just kind of like not focusing on being in a calorie deficit and just kind of eating normally, or I guess normal to an American standard. Anyways, so let's dive into some stuff here. Let's kind of get the whole news thing with Iran going on. My hair's been like really annoying me today. Let's kind of go in with the news having to do with Iran. So leading up to this whole thing, we've been having this blockade over in the Strait of Hormuz that's basically blocking anything going in and out. So originally it was Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz, and then they decided to open it up. And now us, the United States, we've been forming a blockade to basically continue the constraint, to essentially force Iran to come to the table for peace. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The United States isn't necessarily in this fight for ourselves. We don't really gain much out of this. It's, pretty much every MAGA person and the right wing was super against being in war, and more importantly, going to war with Iran. And yet here we are, we're in a war. Well, it's kind of more of a standoff at the moment. The missiles haven't really been dropping. I've seen in the news that Israel has been doing more strikes on Lebanon, breaking that ceasefire. I wouldn't doubt it if there's some kind of retaliation in the next few days, depending on what happens. But, excuse me, this is no surprise because Israel is notorious. They are just known. They never hold to a ceasefire. They are completely uncontrollable. They have no diplomacy with any of their neighbors. They are just rogue and extremely violent. This is not saying this is every Jewish person, obviously not, but it is the government and a lot of the people in power, and there is a large amount of Jewish people who agree with the Zionist Greater Israel project. So that's what all of this is stemming from. Even our position in this whole fight in the Middle East is because we're there on behalf of our strategic partner, Israel, to help them gain control of the Middle East, or to be the superpower out there and control everything. Long story short, I talk about this all the time. So the latest, most up-to-date, having to do with Iran and this blockade and the peace deal. So nothing was agreed upon this Saturday, or this past Saturday. I knew that was going to happen. I called that was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. There was no agreement because we're never going to see eye to eye on certain things. However, recent statements, I'm not necessarily sure if these are statements made by Iran themselves or if it's made by the United States just having some false claims. We've often, Trump has been doing that pretty recently, where he would say that Iran is coming to the table on peace to make peace agreements, and that wasn't true, and Iran would deny any kind of statement. So as of late, Iran supposedly is saying that they're going to go to the table and actually want some kind of deal to lift the Hormuz blockade. I am skeptical myself. I don't necessarily believe that. I mean, maybe it is Iran. I mean, I don't know. Let me check some of these news articles here. Wall Street Journal. That's maybe. Maybe they do. I mean, honestly, at this point, Iran is only really looking for their economy to be opened back up to the world, to stop all of the crazy sanctions on our end, and to basically allow them to have their own nuclear energy sector. They're willing to submit to the international nuclear policing organization. That's not the proper name for it, but there is a international committee of some sorts, or organization that watches over countries and makes sure that they don't develop a bomb. They've already, said that they're willing to do this. And so it's not impossible for us to have a peace deal with Iran. It's actually very simple and very easy for us in the United States. It's just that our government is made up of a minority of people who are pro-Israel Zionists, and they're pushing for more war. Now, where I'm kind of torn at the moment is this really going to be a moment where Trump uses this as a way to get out of the region, which I know he does and most of his cabinet does, or if he's just going to continue to double down on his whole deal that he made basically with the Israeli lobby and AIPAC and the big Israel donors that basically got him into office. And a part of me has a feeling that he is going to double down again, that the missiles will resume, that we will eventually send troops on the ground, that there is going to be something going on here with all of that. And there has been, I need to make a mention of this, that there has been signs that Trump is trying to kind of, maybe, I don't know the proper word to say, but discipline or put Israel in its place. There's been some comments made, and I've heard stuff behind the scenes that He's been expressing that he's not happy with what's going on. And I'm hoping that a lot of this stuff is true and not just kind of like fake rumors, because right now there's not a lot of information. We're in that fog of war. And what I'm going to kind of get at with this, and this kind of ties into the shooting at the White House this past weekend, where when you look at Trump and his presidency, who basically bought him to get into the office into presidency when he was running and campaigning, he was taking donor money. This is very different than the other times that he was running in the past. In 2016, it was really just him on his own. And that's what we all, we love Trump. We loved him, especially in the 2016 era Trump. But now, after he lost in 2020, he basically kept losing all of his money through lawsuit after lawsuit. And inevitably, it led him into 2024, where he needed some kind of backing and some kind of support to run for presidency again. And what isn't really open knowledge, but just kind of stuff that we can speculate based on numbers and information, is that he has like $200 million or so from the Adelsons. And, these are big Israeli lobbyist people. And you can only imagine that with that kind of money, there had to have been some kind of deal that was met for Trump to get into office. And what a lot of us speculate is that that was a war with Iran and a victory with, Iran and Israel basically on our side to push their agenda further. Now, that's why everything has been going the way it's been going is, Trump isn't independent anymore. He's compromised and he's being bought out. It's not 5D chess. It's not this crazy in-depth plan. Trump isn't a strategist. He has a lot of very great tactic moves, short-term moves, but typically, even in his 2016 presidency, which I actually really liked, he was never really a true strategist, just more of somebody who, trial and error tactician, and he's a businessman ultimately. Not everybody's perfect and has all the answers and has every, he's not God. He's not this crazy being who can do no wrong. Trump has clearly made a mistake going into Iran when it comes to his voter base and the people that voted him into office. And he's there appeasing the people who donated to him and got him into office. Now, if the rumors are true that there is, some pressure between Israel, Trump and Netanyahu showing signs of dissatisfaction, or even possibly there were signs from the United States. Oh, I think my camera froze there for a second. Let's see. All right, it's back. So if there's signs that the United States is maybe, or Trump himself is going against the deal, this theoretical deal that was maybe struck between the pro-Israel lobby who donated to him, that over this weekend, I'm getting some connection issues here. Let's see. Let me give it a second. Cheers. Maybe it's another Mossad attack, of course. Then they're going to send an energy beam to make me forget what I was going to say. All right, so leading. Oh no, it's happening. It's happening. Ah. All right, leading up to this shooter attack. Our position right now with Israel is we're showing signs of dissatisfaction, willingness to leave the Middle East and kind of just leave Israel to do whatever they're going to do. A big thing that would actually solidify that, put that in stone, writing in stone, would be to stop all the donor money, all of the aid money that just gets dumped into Israel by the billions. That would be the nail in the coffin for our relationship there. But there is some signs that we want to get out of this war. We want to withdraw, and we don't want to help Israel pursue its greater Israel project at the cost of our money, at the cost of our soldiers, and at the cost of all of our military assets. And so Over this weekend, as I've been saying, the shooter shows up once again. Another attack, potentially directed, potentially directed at Trump. It didn't seem like he really made it far. This guy, I don't know. It seemed like poor plan. This guy isn't like, obviously, he's not an assassin. He's not like some highly trained individual. What this all looks like, and I've been hearing from some people that they say, oh, this is completely staged, that this is fake, and blah, blah, blah. There's nothing to gain for Trump for constantly faking these assassinations. It's a setup in the sense that the lobby, the Zionist and Israeli lobby, this is what I believe it is to be, have arranged for this, that they just found somebody willing, that they must have paid someone off. Now, there's no information for this. This is what I would guess, is that maybe somebody approached the shooter or contacted or reached out somehow, maybe, and offered something to stage some kind of attack or attempt to assassinate Trump. Or even this could be a scare tactic of like, hey, by the way, do not forget where the donor money comes from. Do not forget who you're working for, who paid for your presidency. To me, this is exactly what this is playing out to be, with now Iran wanting to actually come to the table and come up with some kind of peace plan between us. Israel is resuming attacks on Lebanon, going against the ceasefire. We have this shooter show up at the White House, and it seems to be targeted towards Trump. Apparently this guy is a wingnut who just hated Trump. And what I'm also going to get at with this is also tying into J.D. Vance and the fact that his group of people that he's involved with, people like, Peter Thiel, the Palantir people, and Elon Musk, and all of these major big military tech companies who are behind Vance, who Vance kind of represents. He is their representation. On top of that, most of these people are the Zionist lobby. Vance is majorly a, guy who's representing all of these kinds of people. It's becoming more and more apparent and more visible that in 2028, the odds of Vance winning an election, which is what they want. This is what these donors, what the neoconservatives, the pro-Israel lobby want, is they want Vance to get in because he's their guy. He's in with these people. Peter Thiel is like Vance's mentor. He's the Sith Lord and Vance is the apprentice. Something like that, metaphorically. And look, I want a strong conservative. I want a strong right-winger, but these people are not it. They're for the wrong faction of right-wing. They're the anti-America right-wing. They're these globalist Zionist right-wing. And I think that this was a true attempt of some kind of assassination, like a hit or miss. Like, hey, this guy can get in. If he can get in, this wingnut California teacher guy, if he could go in and pull it off, great. If not, it's showing a signal that Trump is walking a fine line. And why they would want to get rid of Trump and assassinate him is so that they could get their guy, Vance, in office, have a legitimate reason to have him take over because of the 2028 election projecting to not work out in the favor of J.D. Vance or even Marco Rubio. Because right now, because of this war, I can guarantee there's going to be a big blue wave coming, and I really don't want that for 2028. That will also be the death of our country at that point. We don't need another extreme socialist, communist, open border hippie guy to come in and start letting everybody else into the country. Again, our country can't handle the economic pressure. That's what people don't understand, is that we're walking a very thin line, even with this war in Iran, with the economy potentially being what's the right word? Not even a really depression, but like a major recession that could become a depression. And I see some of your guys' comments right now. Yeah, you're right. Everyone in both parties is out of whack. And just to paint the picture, by the way, once again, when you look at a lot of these meetings that they have, what's the State of the Union meeting? And if you were watching, you would remember that the only times that the whole room stood together and clapped together was anything having to do with Israel, October 7th, and war in Iran. That was the only times they were all clapping together. You know why? Because I can tell you, when I was looking at, AIPAC tracker and who's taking the money from the Israel lobby, it's on both sides, and it's very heavily on the left wing as well. The amount of Democrats that are taking Zionist money is massive. It's actually even more so in cases in a lot of states than the red ones. So what this is kind of concluding to be, in my opinion, is a real attempt of an assassination that was never expected to work out. And if it did work out, great. That wouldn't have mattered either way. This is also a statement being made by the donors, the big donors, military tech Zionist donors, to Trump, that he cannot get out of this war so easy. He can't just back out on whatever deal he struck with these people to go to war in Iran. And so, yes, there is this window right now where we could back out of this war and come up with some kind of peace deal. But it depends if Trump has that kind of backbone, that kind of spine, is willing to kind of risk his life to do so. And that's the sad thing, because if Trump does come up with a peace deal and sign something, his administration signs some kind of peace deal, there's a very good chance that he might get assassinated. I don't want that at all. I'd prefer that we have him as a president, because what would come next, not that I don't care for Trump's life, but it would be a shame if he passed. I agreed with a lot of the things he ran for as a president to begin with. Despite all of his failures to meet all of our voter base needs and representation, especially during this presidency, but we would get J.D. Vance in his place, which, if you know who this guy is, he is one of those city-state feudalists that wants to crush the American empire and the American dream and create something new in its ashes. And that's going to be a bigger separation. Like, you're going to basically say goodbye to middle class. There's only going to be the elite wealthy class and the people who work for them. And you're not going to have, this wouldn't happen right away. All right. This wouldn't be an immediate thing. But they would work on implementing laws of mass surveillance and to slowly deteriorate the country as we know it. And specifically, the first thing that would go would be the middle class. Even though it's hanging on by a thread, I mean, I can attest that it does kind of exist in some weird way. But it's not the way it used to be. And they're working on getting rid of this. And this is not just an agenda that's being carried out by Vance, but all of the other people who are major AIPAC donor receivers, recipients of all of this money. So it's one of those situations that, if for us here, the citizens, the regular America First people here, and all of us that are trying to navigate this and look for someone to vote in, right now we have no clear answer. There's nobody that is showing themselves to be sufficient to represent us American people. And 2028 is going to be a very interesting time period for a lot of this. It's going to be a pivotal moment in history. And I'm not even going to lie, if we get some crazy communist, America hating left winger, I'm seriously going to be considering going to a new country, because it will be the end of everything that we know it. And these people are going to be hostile, because the left wing, when they're empowered and radicalized, they think that they're fighting against Nazi Germany, and they get violent, and they have. If we do not remember the summer of love over George Floyd, the man who died of an overdose, and if anyone who's ever seen the full footage of that, he was already overdosing and then ran from the cops. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about George Floyd. I'm just saying we have to look at the people that are on the far left that would be empowered in 2028, because they are going to be viewing themselves on the other side of Nazi Germany, which this radical shooter guy was one of them, which is why he was so willing to go to the White House and attempt to assassinate Trump. And this is during a Trump presidency. I mean, it's pure fucking madness. It's pure separation and division. It's an attempt for the elites and these big military tech people that are owning and buying out the government to keep us divided and to conquer us. It's a game. It's a game of chess. We're the pawns. Unfortunately, some people might be some bigger pieces in the mix, depending on your wealth and your status or your individual power that you've maybe accumulated in this game of life. But for us here who work, who want peace, who want just health care, who want to take all of our troops out of the Middle East and to just come back home and focus on making this country strong again, to focus on our infrastructure. I mean, there isn't a place you can't go in the country anymore where the roads aren't beat to piss. You used to be able to own a nice car and drive it and not have to worry about it fucking blowing up from a giant pothole. I mean, even in my state here that I live in, Connecticut, it used to look so much more pretty. Even on the highways, we used to have like these nice walls built on the side, and they're all like falling apart now. Everything's just like littered and overgrown, unkept. The roads are just destroyed, and there's so many illegal immigrants, and it's being a strain on the housing market that everything's skyrocketing because, you get these illegals that come here and they move into one house and they have their whole familia with them. It's not just Hispanics, but a lot of them are. And they realize these landlords can, rent out a small place for extremely high prices. And it's just this never-ending cycle. And that's just one example of many reasons why everything's getting more expensive. It's also driving up the insurance companies. It's driving up everything else. Everything else is feeding off of each other. Our economy is on a very thin line here between breaking and collapsing. And this war, if it doesn't wrap up, if there isn't some kind of peace treaty signed, and the Strait of Hormuz keeps being held up, it's going to get rough. 2028 is going to be extremely rough. And, it's a shame that we're this country that has such a massive economy, so much taxation, and yet we don't see any of it. Our states are becoming ugly, and if you don't own a truck or a SUV, it's like you're driving on a fucking off-roading, rock climbing bullshit, and we're not getting what we wanted out of this presidency is what we're coming to. And it's starting to look like, maybe Trump did want to do something to change. Maybe he wanted to change it all in the beginning and realized that he couldn't. And that he opened the door for sure. He brought the subject to the table. He got us all here thinking about America first and what that means. I give him that credit, for sure. But he ditched that ideology. He ditched it completely. He left us all hanging, the ones, because that was a part of the whole thing, is that he was going to put America first, and now we're dead last. We're chopped liver, Look at what he said about just regular American citizens and the youth, about jobs and schooling. He openly said that we can't risk giving the jobs to Americans because we're too stupid. And it's because they're giving away all these scholarships to foreigners. Our schools are being paid for by our tax dollars and what we buy into it through our loans and everything. We're paying for these institutions. We don't get to go there for free, but if you're from India or China, you can. And it's because they know they can, once these people, these foreigners, these immigrants get out of school, they can come in and take all of the jobs because they'll pay them less and they're going to be more willing because it's the most money they've ever made. They only need enough to send back to their family, a portion of what they make. And then, they don't mind living in a whole house full of their own people, 5, 10 people in a 3-bedroom house. And this is why everything's getting expensive for us Americans, is it's coming out of our pocket. We're not allowed to go to school unless it's going to sign us up for a lifetime of debt, and home ownership is increasingly difficult. We don't have all of the same grants and opportunities anymore, and yet it's our country, it's our home. And this is what we're trying to fight for as America First people, as America First ideology, that we need to get rid of the people in power that want to see America crumble. The Zionist lobby that exists on the left and the right. They exist on both sides. And the more you study into these things and look where all the money, and you trace the money, the donors, these big companies, the people that are committing fraud, honestly, the left are the people in the Democrat Party are the ones that commit the most fraud and abuse the system. And then you have the people on the right wing who take money from the military industrial complex. It's a fucking dystopian nightmare right now, and we need to resurrect what's left of America and fight for it blindly. We need to have blind hope that we're going to do this, and we cannot give up. And you cannot even allow yourself to feel like it's over. Because the second that you start to believe it's over, it is over. You start to let them win, they will win. We can't let them win. We can't let them have our votes. We need to be, and I'm going to do a lot of the research for you guys. I'm going to be on this show here telling you guys the directions to vote. I mean, I'm going to be honest. If I see a Democrat who is an America First Democrat and is actually not taking the foreign aid and, not a complete fraudster and not someone who's just going to let the border wide open and push the agenda of destroy America and create greater Israel, then I'm going to say who that guy is. And I'm going to do my best to research all of these people, see where the donor money is coming from, or the money is coming from in general, and figure out where we need to go from there. So, as I said, maybe tonight is going to be truly a short episode, honestly. There isn't too much in the news. But I do believe that is what is going on here with that shooter situation. It's a signal. It's a warning shot. Just like the one when Trump was running in 2024. The reason he got shot at is the same situation. They find someone willing enough to go there with a gun. Maybe they offer something, I don't know. Some kind of job, or they offer money, or some kind of guarantee of safety. and they just hate Trump enough that they're willing to go there and pull it off. But when he was running and he got shot at in the ear, that was shortly before J.D. Vance got picked or selected to be vice president. I can't remember the original option that Trump wanted to go with. I know it wasn't originally J.D. Vance, but essentially Trump was forced by his hand that, hey, if you're taking this donor money, you're going to basically put Vance in as your VP or we're going to fucking kill you. Hey, Trump, you're going to go to war in Iran on behalf of Israel or we're going to fucking kill you. You're going to betray your America First voter base or we're going to kill you. And these are the signs. This is what is happening. This is what has happened on Saturday. I can guarantee it. You're not going to see it on the news. You might see it on some talk shows, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody else mention anything like this yet. But it's another warning. And it's strike two. I would believe that if there is another attempt of an attack, it could be game over for Trump. It could be. I don't want to see that because deep inside, for some reason, I do think he meant what he meant in 2016 when he ran for the first time. And whatever happened in between then, it must have hardened his heart and caused him to sell out. He must have seen of what the Whitehouse has become. And this is the Trump we have now. A guy who's just willing to do whatever he has to do in order to maybe just save his life or his family at this point. And it's kind of a scary thing to think about. And let's do a little history lesson really quick. You know, the last president to actually really put pressure or to stand up to Israel was John F. Kennedy. He was, I forgot what he did exactly, but he was basically going to shut down their nuclear program and, you know, put sanctions and stuff on them. And he was going to do something with AIPAC or like whatever big donor organization. He was going to make it so that they were labeled differently so that my memory is pretty poor at the moment. I can think about what I'm imagining. I just can't put it into words. Long story short is JF Kennedy did a lot of things to put America first. And he realized that there was a deep-seated problem brewing in our country with the pro-Israel lobby. And inevitably, he himself got assassinated publicly. And this is what our country has become. And it's these Zionist Jews who have control over the media, who have these big companies that are for military tech and weapons. And this is why we need to empower our youth, our kids, people of my generation and younger. We need to get involved in politics and start to fight. Not physically, but, you know, like physically get involved and do things intellectually. But we need to re-infiltrate our own country because we're not sovereign. I might need to do something myself and get into office somehow. And it probably doesn't help that I'm out here saying this stuff live. I might not ever have a chance, but I can guarantee I'll always be here to help guide people and offer any information when I can, or advice, or tell people where to go and what's right. Actually, I don't know what is right, but do our best to do what is right and put America first. But it is crucial that people, our kids, my generation's kids, go to school, learn the right trades, learn the right skill sets to get back into office and take politics seriously. To not view it as a drag, but to actually view it as the tool and the mechanism and the machine that it is designed to be for the people, to represent them, to represent us as Americans, and not the foreign interests that's proving to be destructive, and these people that don't care about us or the country or us in general. So we don't need to, I know I see some of your guys' comments, we don't need to sell out. You need to be honest, honestly. We can't change and continue to fuel the fire of the current situation. You cannot repeat the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. Other people have tried, they've done that. They've gotten themselves into positions, and then they get, silenced, or they get whatever. So this is why the plan is crucial. They can have their agenda. They're a faction. We need our own faction, and that faction is America First, by the way. And if maybe you're not going to get involved in politics directly, but how you can involve yourself in the bigger picture is to empower and better yourself by building up, become someone who has money that you can donate towards proper institutions, that you can donate to the people who are America First. And that's becoming, more and more of a thing that's growing up. There is the America First Foundation that is being started by Nicholas J. Fuentes. And that's going to be a big thing in the future. There are going to be candidates who are like me, who are like the other America Firsters out there who will be running. I believe it's inevitable. And we're not, absolutely not, going to keep repeating the same patterns that everybody else before us has done. And that's the suck it up and kiss ass to the donors and the people in power. We're going to change that. That's what's going to change. And it's also going to start by us not voting for the lesser of two evils. We have to become smarter than that if we're going to change anything. And we will change it, and we will rise above that hypnotic illusion being cast out onto the mass public. And it's going to start with some awakening of people. It's going to start with awareness, and it's going to move into people getting involved. It's going to move into people like me who are going to better themselves and maybe make a good amount of money someday so that I can help others who need it to get into power, to re-infiltrate, because this is what they did. They got money first. They built themselves communities and organizations and societies that work together. They put all of their pieces in the right place, and we need to do the same thing, but better. And we're going to do that. It's happening right now, and everyone needs to be a part of it in one way or another, whether it's you spreading the word, telling other people out there to just simply watch shows like mine or America First, or watching just, Tucker Carlson, who's actually a pretty good voice in all of this. The first step is making everybody aware of our situation and to help people understand, not by force, but by facts and proof, that if they don't begin to care, if they don't begin to pay attention, everything that you don't want to happen is going to happen. And that you'll be stuck forever in the prison that they've kind of built for everybody. So it doesn't matter if you get into small positions in politics or, and better yet, large. You can also focus on becoming someone like an engineer or an accountant, a banker, or a lawyer, more importantly. A lawyer is crucial if you're going to be a part of this. People who fight for the law and remain true, who are America First. So it's not just about getting in politics. It's a movement of everybody, an awakening, that we're going to be the ones who start to put America first again, like we did before World War II, and this whole mess started, and the State of Israel was created, and the major lobbyists and the banking powers and the central bank, before all of this became the mess that it did, we have to look back and look at what was done right, modify it, and apply it. We're going to lift up each other. No, we're not going to be communists. That doesn't work. It never has. But we're going to have a sense of identity, a sense of what it means to be American, to not hate this place, even though it's difficult. Everywhere you go, you're not going to like people, sure, but you don't need to like everybody to stand for a place that is actually a beautiful place to live, and a comfortable place to live at that. And as we further ourselves down this journey of creating America first, if it's not us, right? If it's not us, the younger generations, the millennials, and whoever's willing to get involved, accelerationists and accelerationism, you can use it as a tool. And right now, the wrong people, the Zionists, the foreign interests, and the communists, who's also another Jewish institution, they're the ones that are utilizing destabilization. They're separating us people politically, dividing us and conquering us, so that they can accelerate a destruction of America as we know it. The America that celebrates Christmas, the America that has freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, the right to exist, the right to food, the right to health care. They want us to hate each other so that they can accelerate our destruction to implement the wrong version of a new world order. The order that does not benefit any of us. The one that rejects Christ. The one that turns us all into slaves and just supports the rich elite Zionist class that is going to create the Greater Israel Project. That's what we need to combat. And we're going to do that by becoming America first. Supporting the people who are America first and nobody else. And it's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to require us just simply coming together and maybe even just coming here and watching me to talk about these things. But we will do, all of it matters. Yes, you'll need to do local improvements for sure. That is a part of it. And that's what you would call a bottom-up kind of revolution, even though it's not really a revolution, but it's going to be a reaction to what is happening, to preserve what America actually is at the Constitution and the core of its identity. It is a type of conservatism, conservation, whatever you would want to call that. And that's where we're at. It's beginning. It's now. It's between you and me, between all of us, and it is happening. So, anyways, I think that's all I got for you guys tonight. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me on another night, Monday. Yes, Trump's under fire, literally. This is a warning shot from the people who purchased him to become a president with that $200 million donor money. And this is strike two. I fear that if there's another warning shot, it might be the last. And then we get the Dark Enlightenment beginning with J.D. Vance assuming the role of president. And that's what we have to be careful of. Vance is not our guy. He's not the guy who's going to stand for the people, for us citizens, for us who have been here in this country and care about it. He's against that. He's for his own people, his own kind, his elite class, the Zionists, the ones who they view themselves as the golden race. They're not. They're soulless. They are political whores. And they're willing to sell and do anything, sell themselves and do anything to achieve that agenda. Anyways, have a good night, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in with me. Once again, my name is Kyle Paul, and this is my show, The Full Scope, a place where you can come to and listen and be involved and hear about what is going to be happening in the future. Please share this show. Find my clips on social media. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Find my stuff. Share it. Tell your friends about me. Or even just talk to people about what you've heard on my show or anywhere else. And we're going to keep pushing for the new future that is not the dystopian hell, but the New World Order can actually be something that is good, peaceful, and resembles Christendom or what is holy. We can push for these things. So, anyways, thank you all for listening to me tonight. May God bless each and every one of you. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Good night, everybody.